Hey there, and thanks for clicking on my video. This is a bit of a weird one, and let me explain. So I want to do another crochet and chat. So basically you see me there on the screen, working on a project and, just chatting to you guys. Yeah, just like I did for the Scrappy puppy. So, worked on the video on Monday all day. Yes, in the sweater. And went to edit it like later in the evening, and then CapCut, what I usually use, was like, you can't export because you're not pro. And I'm like, since when was that a thing? So that sucks. So I started teaching myself DaVinci Resolve, and it is so complex and very complicated. I tried to get it the best I could. So this video is a little choppy, I will admit that. I think I got like the trim and the cuts really good, so it's not super choppy, but I don't know how to add music. I can't figure that part out. So there's no music in the silent clips, like during the time lapses, so do with that what you will. Feel free to fast forward those parts. I'm sorry that it turned out so wonky, and I'm running out of time to, edit it in CapCut and then sign up for the 7-day free trial. And then I went to look this morning at CapCut, and it was like, yeah, you can export that, no problem. So I don't know if it was just a glitch the other day during like the internet outage thing, like worldwide. I think it honestly might have been because it was on the same day, like Monday, and I'm running out of time, basically, because my 3-day sweater market, as I call it, starts in 2 days from now. Today is Wednesday morning, and I had to be there. Well, I'd start packing up the car, of course, like tomorrow evening and stuff, and, get there on Friday, etc. And I just don't have time to now redo the entire thing on CapCut. So you're going to see everything that I got done on DaVinci Resolve. The hardest part, I think, was 1, adding the music, and 2, the color selection, because I guess iPhone footage, which is what I use, doesn't go well with DaVinci Resolve. I tried to edit the colors a little bit, and they turned out a little wonky, so that's why, just FYI, it looks totally different. It's been a huge learning curve this week, and well, the last 2 days, and I got it to where I need it to be, but I'm sorry if it looks a little crappy. Not much I can do about it. So basically right now what I'm doing is filming this intro, and I'm going to put this on CapCut, and then I can put the rendered video that you see right there that's loading into CapCut as well. And then I need to film the outro where I show you the turtles that I do have finished. And then this will be uploaded on Sunday, and as you're seeing this, well, maybe, as this is uploaded, I will be at the Stratford Market. The 3-day event. Well, I won't be there, but I'll be waking up to go there because my videos upload at 6 a.m. on Sundays, and Sunday the market is from 9 until 1, and that's the final day of the market. So wish me luck. By the time you see this, of course, it'll almost all be over, and all of my sweaters will almost be sold out. Please enjoy this video. I'm sorry it turned out odd, but you know what? That's just life sometimes, especially on a busy week. It's always the busy weeks that this happens. There, it is now Monday, November 17th, and this weekend I have my big sweater market, as I've been calling it. I have all the sweaters just about finished. I have one sleeve to finish. No, I have both sleeves finished on that one, but I still have to attach them. But the sweaters are done. I do have this granny square sweater to assemble. I don't know if there's enough granny squares. If there isn't, I'm not going to assemble it. I'll make it into a blanket. If there's enough granny squares there, I will make it. But that can wait for another day. I wanted to do another crochet and chat video today. We recently did one with the charity puppy that I finished. Here's the photo of him if you don't remember him. He has been dropped off at the charity already, the dog rescue. And they were so appreciative and they love him so much. So hopefully he brings in good money for them. And you may remember on that video, we got the scrap basket down quite a bit, but of course the scrap basket will never end. So I still have quite a bit in here. Of course, I have added more things to it since that video. I think I made that puppy probably like close to 3 weeks ago, and I've been market prepping for a 3-day plushie market ever since. So we're going to work through a lot of this in this video. What I plan on making is Fred the Sea Turtle. Here is the thumbnail pattern by CJ's Designs. And I make this sea turtle all the time. I don't have any left right now, so I thought, you know what? I think a Scrappy sea turtle would be really cute. For the shell, I plan on making it Scrappy. And the same with the fins. The head and the underside of the body will remain like turtle color. But I thought for the fins, I think I'm going to do like the outer because like when you fold it in half, you do like a row of single crochet as the outer row of the fins. I think I'm going to keep that as the body color, but the inside of the fins can be like these scrappies. I think that's a pretty good plan, and I think they'll look pretty cute. So let's get started on some shells first, and then I still have to decide what yarn I want to use as the body color and like the outer of the fins. One of the colors I usually use is this dark green. It might be smoky green, but it is an older formula Bernat, and one, it hurts my hands, and two, I don't like the way old formula looks on plushies. So I do have other options. So other options that I have is Misty Jungle Green by Bernat Baby Blanket Dappled. I have Ocean Teal or Ocean Deep Ombre by Bernat Blanket Ombre. I can't remember what it's called. I also have a deep teal ombre. I don't think it'll work very well, but I think it still would look nice. If you're curious about my shirt, I had my friend make this for me. I bought the graphic off of Etsy, or from a seller on Etsy, and it is Dwight Schrute from The Office. There is an episode where he buys out all of the popular toys of the year, and he sells them for a profit. So it's one of my favorite episodes, so I had her make this as a Christmas shirt for me. I think this is from last year. I get a new one every year. Mainly for work, but since I lost my corporate career, maybe I won't need one this year, but hopefully I will, because hopefully I'll hear about a job soon. I'm supposed to hear back from one of the jobs that I really want this week, so fingers crossed they call and say, congrats, do you want the job? And I'll say yes. But so far, nothing. But it's only 2 o'clock on Monday afternoon. Always stay hydrated. If you hear any sighing or grumbling in the background, that is Larry the sheepdog. He is very annoyed today. For no reason. Probably because, actually, now they say that, probably because he had a smaller breakfast than usual because he's been having some tummy issues. There's a long story there. Basically, the vet recommended something that they shouldn't have because it had chicken in it, and he can't have any poultry. It's very common with old English sheepdogs, but apparently the vet didn't take that into consideration, so a bit of peeved about that. So he now has a new diet, and he is going full raw because I need to firm up his poops again. Because 4 weeks of liquid poops has not been fun for either of us. Or the lawn. Or my husband when he mows the lawn. But nothing I can do about it. Unfortunately, my tablet was dead when I went to start this. So I just went to the pattern. I didn't print it out because I only get to print 10 pages per month through my HP Instant Ink program. And I'm fine with that. I really don't print much. I used to print a lot of things like at work when I had access to my printer, but that's long gone, but that's okay. So basically all I print now are, sometimes I print like my grocery list instead of scratching it down on a notepad, or, you know, shipping labels for custom orders, etc. So we're just gonna do the shell and some of the fins right now. And then as I said, we'll go back for the body colors. I'm going to use an 8mm hook. I thought about using a 7, but if I want to do some of the old formula for the bodies, I want to use those in an 8. So we're going to do 8 for the shell and the fins as well. Hey, that rhymed. What I plan on doing is, I want to keep it like the colors consistent. So for example, I'm going to start using like the blue scraps, anything with blue in it, to make like a blue turtle. And then we could keep the body color as blue, or we could keep it as green. That's my plan. Not saying that will totally last because I don't know if I have enough for like an all blue shell. The shell for this pattern does call for 10 rows. I'm not going to give any details to the stitch count because it is a paid pattern. I like this pattern for the sea turtle the most because, one, it's no-sew. The first turtle I ever did during the Amigurumi Torture Challenge, which by the way is a playlist here on my channel if you check it out at one of these corners. First one I ever did, basically you had to create holes in like the underside of the body under like the shell, and then you had to go in, stuff the fins in, and then sew it into it. And I'm like, oh my god, who has the time for this? That took hours. But I was so glad when I found this one because you're crocheting the fins into the body as you make the body. something I did for the Scrappy puppy I was just talking about was I made sure there wasn't more than 4 rows of like the same yarn in any of the body parts. For this one and for the turtles, I don't think I'm really gonna do that. I mean, I might if it's like a really large scrap. So like, for example, this pink here, that would probably make a whole shell. Well, almost a whole shell. So I'm not gonna do that, but you know, for small scraps like this, if it's 4 rows, we'll see how it looks, because I don't want it to be like, you know, half this, half that. I've done that accidentally before and it turned out looking like a nipple. So I had to make it into a strawberry turtle because if I sold it just like the way it was, it looked like a nipple turtle. I just realized I increased too much on the second row because I was looking at the fin instead of the shell. So frogging that last row I just did. To make sure that doesn't happen again, I'm just gonna fold my paper so I cannot look at the fins / legs, and I can just look at the shell instructions. Because I know that's gonna happen to me. So that's 4 rows in, and I probably do have enough for row 5 and 6, but I'm going to choose I'm going to choose to snip off the yarn right now. I think it would be okay if I didn't snip off the yarn if I was further into the shell, but because it's the beginning rows, I really don't want it to be, as I said, looking too choppy. So like that nipple thing I was just talking about. So because I want to keep like the blues together, for example, I'm going to just like look and pick instead of, you know, doing like a blind picking like I did for the Scrappy puppy. So this piece here is kind of blue. That's from the ombre, the deep teal ombre yarn I just used up for a sweater. I showed it earlier in this video. Not the sweater, but the yarn, sorry. Okay, we're heading into row 5. And it looks like that's just going to give us 1 row plus a few stitches. And I will use this up instead of just switching right now. I'm going to add in some of this gray sparkle yarn. I know it's not blue, but I think it'll look nice. We've now reached the full stitch count for the shell. So this is where I add my, what are they usually called? Stitch marker, but I use a safety pin because when I'm not using it, I just put on my shirt quick. And then I have so many of them upstairs in the bedroom because I forget to take them off at night. But that's okay, because once I gather so many, I bring them back down. Okay, so stitch marker / safety pin is in. And I have a hard time counting and talking at the same time, so that's why I sped up me crocheting without talking. I did that for the safety, or for the charity puppy as well. And if you hear any snoring, that is now Larry. He's been snoring like a, I don't know, a blue-collar man or a blue-collar worker lately. The next 3 rows are just single crochet around. And when it's more than 5 rows or 5 rows, I usually use my poppet thingy that I got a while ago at the thrift store to count like the rows. But since it's only 3, I'm usually pretty good at that. And I leave the stitch marker exactly where it is right now. And then I just like, you know, kind of count like, oh yes, okay, I've done 3 rows. But anything more than 5, I usually end up using this. If you're watching my channel and you've already subscribed, but you've never said hi, I would really, really love for you to say hi in the comments. Like, just say the word hi, or leave your favorite emoji. I'm always so curious about who watches my channel because, you know, I have my usual commenters and stuff, and I appreciate you guys so much, and anybody who subscribes to me, really, but I would just love to know your name. Like, that's all I want. Or your initials. You can also put, like, your state or your province or the country that you're watching from. I find that so fascinating. As of this morning, I hit 1,500 subscribers, so that's really cool. All morning, and I sent a screenshot to my husband. I was sitting at 1,499, and I'm like, how? You know, but just the anticipation. And I checked it after lunchtime, so probably around 1 p.m., and I was at 1,501. So that was exciting because now when you look at my channel, it says Melissa 1.5K subscribers. My video that I put out yesterday, the my bestsellers keep selling out video, so like a market prep video basically. It already has over 1,000 views in the first day, so that's exciting. I love when that happens because you never know what's gonna end up being popular. Sometimes it's a total crapshoot, and you think, you know, the video you worked so hard on and that you've been working on forever gets no views. Well, not no views, but like little amount of views compared to the ones that you don't think are gonna pop off, as the young kids say. If they say that anymore, I don't know. Could ask my nephews, but as my sister-in-law says, they're sassy little turds right now because they're at the preteen age. So I don't really ask them anything anymore because whenever they answer you, they make you feel like you're a dum-dum, you know, and, you know, I mean, I get it because, you know, I was at that age at one point too, and, you know, any adult asks you anything and you think that, oh, you're an adult, you should know that. I was saying to my sister lately, I don't know if I talked about it on a video yet. I don't think I did. Or maybe I edited it out. I don't know. But I was saying to my sister lately, I said, do you remember when we were kids and, you know, our uncles would ask, like, what grade are you in now? And we'd be like, how do you not know that? You're my uncle. Well, now I'm experiencing that with my nephews and my niece because I don't know what grade they're in. I know what I can tell what age they are because I kind of count back in my head to the year that they were born. But I have no idea what grade they're in. You know, year after year, I lose count. Okay, so we're going for the next color. I did snip off the gray sparkle. I really don't have any blue left in here. There's a lot of mint in here because all those off shades that I have, and then I did a deep teal sweater with that ombre yarn. So there's just so much teal in here, but that's okay. This is something to work with. Speaking of the deep teal, I think I'm gonna start from the center of this and just add in some of this color. It is a nice color. Going from old formula to new formula is always like a little bit weird with projects like this, the Scrappy projects. Just because you go from something so thick and coarse, I guess, to something that's, you know, not as thick and it's not like thin yarn or anything, but it's a lot thinner than the older formula. As I mentioned earlier, I have my large market in Stratford, Ontario this coming weekend, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm excited. This is the one where I take all my sweaters that I've been working on all year. So I kind of counted, I haven't counted all my sweaters, but this morning I was downstairs hanging laundry, which is where I kind of have my sweaters right now, like in the rec room downstairs. That it's in a space we don't really use. So I put my hanging rack down there, and then I hung 30 sweaters up down there. So there's 30 down there, and I think upstairs here I probably have close to 20. So I'm assuming I have close to 50 sweaters. I watched my video from last year just this morning to see how many I took last year, and I think I said close to 50. I think it was around 50, and then I had sold 32, I think, at this market. Something like that. But this year, of course, now I know what people are more wanting and, like, you know, like the type of sweater. So you've heard me say on my channel multiple times now that they really want sweaters out of the blanket yarn, and everybody wanted them to be oversized. So, like, it's a comfy, cozy, you know, wear at home when you're cold sweater type thing. So I didn't do many hexagon cardigans. I did a few, I would say less than 10 this year. Last year I had quite a bit of those. So I mainly did like my blanket cardigans, as you guys have been seeing all year if you watch my channel. I should count the different types. And then something I had forgotten about, and I'm glad I watched my video this morning from last year, is I had itemized everything in Square. So like I could just, you know, search for the name of the sweater that I had, you know, named the sweater, and, you know, just check out from there type thing. So then at least I knew what was selling. I don't know if I'm going to do that this year. I think I honestly just might do like by like category or type. So hexagon, blanket hug is what I call the blanket yarn ones. And then the garden granny are like my flower power granny square ones. Might just do it that way. I don't plan on vlogging that market like while I'm there, only because I use my phone to film, and I need my phone for Square, and I need to get the battery in my phone replaced pretty badly. Like the battery health, I think, is at 75%. So I did go to the Apple store while I was in the city Christmas shopping on Thursday last week, and it's not a bad price. I think she says 110 plus tax. So that's not bad at all in my opinion. So it's probably come to like 140, but I have to be able to budget that. And then I'll have to be after the market this weekend. Otherwise I would consider it a bit more. And I do have my old iPhones actually sitting right there on the table. You can see it. But if you watch my channel back, so anything before Christmas last year was on that phone. And the microphone and the speaker didn't work very well. So you can barely hear those videos. But I don't want to delete them off my channel because YouTube algorithms and stuff. So I'll keep them up. But if I use that phone to film, you won't be able to hear anything that I say. So kind of a detriment. And of course I could get it fixed, but I don't see the point. I do use that phone to film sometimes if I'm doing like, you know, talkless videos or, you know, just time lapses, stuff like that. Okay, so I've done my 3 rows, and now we have to do the last row, which is front loop only. I think for that one I will change the color, just add like a nice pop of color. I still want to keep it in the blue, green, teal category. Probably something like a nice light color. Here's like that off shade mint I was talking about. So let's do this one. Hopefully that's enough for however many stitches around. For just one row it should be. In this pattern, you do have to, actually it doesn't call for this, but something that I do when I do the head is in the last row I, you know, pinch it shut, and then you do the 4 stitches across the back, like the last row. And then I, like when you're assembling it, you do that. So right now what the pattern does call for is to do every single stitch around. But I usually like the back loop, front loop only. But then I usually do skip the 4 where the head would be, just because I don't want like the, sorry, Larry's very dramatic. So I don't want the, what do you call it, the last row to be flipped up behind the turtle's head. I find it looks really funny. So I usually do skip the last 4 front loop only. I hope I explained that okay. Made sense in my mind. I also do that with my palm turtles, like the tiny turtles that I make. Something I completely forgot that I do, because I haven't made one of these in a while. And I do these for the palm turtles too. So for the front loop only row, I usually go to a bigger hook just to give it an extra, I don't know, a little bit of extra height. So as I said, I was using an 8mm hook, and I'm going to switch to a 10 for that last row. I haven't always done this, but when I do it, yeah, I think it looks really nice. And of course, if like, you know, you're somebody who doesn't crochet and you're just buying something in the market, you have no idea that is, you know, that care is put into it, but. And here is the 4 stitches that I left out for the where the head will be attached. Here is the first shell. You can see it did kind of a cone at the top. That's because I started with an old formula. I completely forgot that I hate doing that. But once I do have the turtle like assembled fully, I usually just use like a long tail, and I kind of like, I don't know what the word would be, but I kind of just, you know, depress it down, I guess, with, like I tack it down, I guess is the right word. It'll look fine in the end, but right now it just looks stupid. Okay, so that is the shell for that one. The Drama King. Check it out. That's how he sleeps. Crazy dog. Now I want to do the fins, and then usually with the fins, because I usually like batch make these, I'll put the fins in here so I remember exactly what shell goes with what fin. Here's my safety fin / stitch marker. Now I can flip over my note so I can actually read the fin instructions. And the fins are pretty simple. They're only 4 plus like the end row, so 5-ish rows. Sometimes I do end up stuffing the fins, just depending on how thin the yarn is. But a lot of the times it doesn't end up needing it, just because, you know, it's folded in half and then that makes it cushy enough. Going on to the next color, and I'm going to choose that deep teal again. I've chosen to snip off this color. And I know it's not super matching, but I'm gonna add in a little bit of pink just for the fun pop of color. I won't add in a whole lot, but it'd be fun to add, like, you know, just 1 or 2 rows, maybe on like 1 or 2 of the fins. Because it's my turtle and I can do what I want. And the turtles do sell well for me. I'm always surprised that people are willing to spend, what do I sell them for? I haven't made some in a while because they sell out so fast. I think I usually sell them for 30 or 35. I think 35 if I do like a strawberry or like a lemon, etc. So any special touches, I put on an extra $5, but I think I usually sell these for 30. And they usually sell pretty quickly. Like I don't normally have them for more than a month at my table. So 4 markets-ish. I usually make probably 6 or 8 at a time. Okay, so that's 1 row of the pink. And I have to snip off because the next row is where we fold it in half with the body color, whatever that's going to be. So it will fold in half like this, like a taco, and then you do 1 row here to finish it. So it will fold in half like this, like a taco, and then you do 1 row here, pull this last stitch a bit loose, and then you tuck it in the shell, finish a fin, drink some water. Here's some more off the teal ombre. When I do a sweater out of the ombre yarn, I do find there is a bit of, not waste, but quite a few scraps, just because you want to match up, you know, like the darkest of the yarn to the darkest of the next skein. So sometimes that, you know, like when I make a cardigan, I don't use like an even number of skeins on like the body piece. Like it's always, you know, like 3.5, 4.5, etc., or something like that. That's never like, you know, 4 full complete skeins. So there is a bit of waste when it comes to that, just because you have to get to the right like shade, which honestly is very difficult for me as a colorblind person. I can't tell different shades apart, so usually I have to wait for my husband to come home and then help me unwind a skein to connect the next color, or like the right color in the next skein to shade match. I have 2 rows with this color, so I'm going to snip it off. And I go back to the original color we started the shell with. I don't remember what color name it is. Apologies. But it does remind me of my grandparents. I was telling Steve this last night, so I was working with it. Because they always had a comforter on their bed, these colors, like pastel blue, navy, gray, white. And then my grandmother made it. And then she also made curtains for the bedroom that were the exact same fabric. So this yarn reminds me so much of them. I have one stitch left. And it's not going to be enough. But because the next row is going to be the finishing, like, fold and a half row, I'm just going to pull this a bit. And maybe I'll remember. If not, one stitch isn't that big of a deal. So it's funny how that worked out. That looks pretty cool the way it, you know, kind of like color blocked itself the last two rows there. Let's add in a little bit of pink. Again, this is a different pink though. The first one I used was the Bernat Baby Blanket Dappled in the shade Rosy. And this is something else. I'm trying to remember what this one's from. I think this might be from something I had taken apart. Just because the colors didn't match nicely, and I thought, you know what, I can use them separately. I do that all the time. Because I want these turtles to seem very scrappy, I am going to do just a few more stitches of the third row in this pink, and then I'll switch it out. Let's add in this teal we haven't used yet. I think this is Bright Sage, maybe? There's so many teals that I've been using lately. It's so hard to keep track of all of them. And then I got some for free from my former workplace because I did swatches. I'm allowed to keep what I don't use if I want to. Sometimes I take the yarn back, sometimes I'm like, thank you. So obviously we're not blanket yarn to keep. Now that I'm thinking about it, this color is called Seafoam. It's a nice color. I've snipped off that color, Seafoam. I'm going to add in a piece of dark purple. This is also from an ombre yarn. That fin is now ready to be folded in half with the body color. I like the way that one turned out. It's kind of like half and half on the last row there. Okay, so that's 3 finished up so far. Moving on to the next one, I'm going to start with this dark purple for fun. And I think I'm going to do this one as a bunch of different colors. So I can keep the fins, you know, not all very similar. So I don't think I've done a fin yet with like a different color each row. So that was the first row. Let's go back to this really beautiful off-shade mint that I have. Someday I'll use all of it up, and I will rejoice. I got so much of it for free. I said recently on my channel why I got so much of it. It was when I first started at work, like at Spinrite, product development was going around asking people if they wanted a free garbage bag full of yarn, and of course I said yes. But they never said like, oh, it's all the same color. So they're like, how many bags do you want? And I was like, how many will you give me? And I think I took 5 or 6. So quite a bit. And each bag had like the same color, like per bag. So I think out of each color, I had got close to, how many skeins? Like 14-ish skeins, maybe a bit more, maybe 16. I don't remember. But they must have been off shades that just, you know, didn't go forward into production, or they were, you know, just the wrong shade showed up and like it was noticeable to the naked eye type thing. But I was happy for the free yarn, obviously, and I've gotten a lot of use out of it. But, you know, it comes to the point where you're like, is it ever going to end? But, you know, free yarn is free yarn. I'm thankful for that, especially when I make profit off of it. For row 3, I'm going to try Pretty Girl, Bernat Baby Blanket. I don't know if there's going to be enough, so I might end up having to frog this, because as I said, I want it to be the full row. Although, is that going to look too much of a contrast for like the blues here? I mean, it's just one row of the fins, so you know what, I'm going to add it. Although I do want to do like a pink themed one later, so you know what, I'm going to not use this. I'm going to use This will match a bit better. This is Cloud 9. I already have a little bit of purple in here. So that's 3 rows. Got 1 more. And then of course the body color. I'm going to go back to this pale pink. And is now ready for the fold in half body color. So that's all 4 fins for this turtle. So now we're going to start on the next shell and then of course the fins. I just like to work it that way so I can keep, like, you know, the design or color scheme in mind. Before we start the second shell, I just want to say thank you so much for your kind comments on the charity puppy one. So the video that was similar to this, the first one I did, I really enjoyed filming that video, so I've been wanting to make another one, so I have time today, so that's what we're doing. And I'm glad you guys liked it. I thought it was really fun to make because, you know, I kind of picture it as I'm talking to you guys, and then maybe you're on your couch talking back to me, but I can't hear you. I mean, I do that with the crochet channels too sometimes when, you know, if I'm watching, you know, Miss Megan Made Me, and she says, like, what do y'all think? In her beautiful, adorable accent, and I'm like, oh, I like it. And, you know, Steve's sitting here, he'll be like, you know, she can't hear you right. I'm like, I'm aware, thank you, Steven. But, you know, I think it's fun because, you know, if you crochet full-time like me right now, like this year, full-time for me, as we know, it's kind of fun to, you know, picture somebody else on the other side of the screen talking back. So I'm glad you guys like these type of videos because I do like making them. I do plan on doing another day of my life thing, because remember I showed you the one Monday of my life, like the whole day, like time-lapse style. That was a lot of fun to film, so I'll do another one of those soon, but I just have to remember to take my tripod and like all the equipment and stuff upstairs in the morning, and then I'll remember when I wake up, but a lot of the times I'm like, oh, stuff's still downstairs, I'm not gonna do it today. But that's okay. For this next one, I don't... Actually, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out all of the teal that we've already, you know, kind of established that we've like used so far, just so I can see what's actually in the bucket that's not teal, because it is a lot of teal. As you can see, there's a lot of teal pieces, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's a whole bunch buried in the bottom as well, because of all those teal sweaters I've been making trying to use up that off-shade yarn. This is my pink assistant pillow I had got from Temu. Larry usually steals it during the day. He's not right now, but then when Steve gets home, he lays on the couch and he steals it. So I do use it sometimes, but not all the time. I feel like I'm good if I'm on the couch and crocheting, but if I'm in my office chair, I do use it quite a bit. Or if I'm sitting on the corner of the couch over there, I use it. And that whistling sound that you're hearing is Larry sighing because I'm talking right now and he's trying to snooze. But he could go in the other room and snooze, but... So I just took out most of the teals. There was 9 in total, but I'm going to keep this one in just because there is some variation there. And it's fun to add in a dark color here and there. As I said, I want to do a pink themed turtle, but I don't know if I would have enough pink to do like turtles and, or sorry, obviously the turtles, but do the shell and the fins like all pink. So I'm definitely going to have to add in some other colors, but I would like the majority of it to be pink. And yes, I have lots of pink in my office I could go grab, but let's see how far we get on the shell at least, because I could make the fins like a solid pink. And by solid pink I mean like brunette, baby blanket, dappled, and rosy, because I have, I think, half skein of that left, so that would work for either the body or it could work for the fins. Well, let's see how far we get on the shell at least. Let's get started on turtle number 2. I just had a snack of some pear slices. I was gonna say peach slices, but no, pear slices. And I have a little bit of my favorite goldfish crackers. Here are the mega ones, so like the larger ones, sharp cheddar. I also just gave Larry a bone collagen stick thing to chew on. So if you hear that, sorry, but I have to keep them occupied for a bit. So the yarn we're going to start the shell with is this yarn here. This was, I believe it was likely a burnout blanket tie-dye-ish that never went to production. It was gray, pink, dark brown. I am going to add another row. I am at, what did I do, 3 rows now? Yeah, 3 rows now, using this color. Sorry, the lighting's a little funny here today because it's snowing outside, so the snow clouds make everything a little bit dim, but not as dark as rain clouds. So I have to use the overhead lamp. So I'm just going to use this yarn for 1 more row. Because it's variegated, it's not a solid, so it doesn't look as funny with multiple rows. So that's 4 rows now. I'm going to snip off this yarn so I can add like a darker. We still have lots of it. Looks inappropriate, doesn't it? I think the next color I'm going to add is a solid. This is an off shade I also got through my former workplace. I refer to it as raspberry. I think that looks really nice. I am going to snip it off and do a different color. And then might go right back to that raspberry color. I think it would look nice. Here is some of the brunette baby blanket dapples in the color Rosy. I love the sweater I made out of that yarn. It's so nice. I think that one was in September? I want to say it was September. I really like the way it's looking, going from like, you know, the variegated to the dark to the light. It's really good. This one also coned a bit. Not as bad as the first one, because the first one was old formula. This is like a newer formula. I think next time, honestly, I would skip the first row and then just start with the second row stitch count. So we'll try that next shell. I'm now at the point where I have the correct amount of stitches for the shell. So I'm going to snip off this dappled and I go back to the raspberry color. I'm excited for my market this weekend. I'm glad they did it 3 days this year. Last year was just 2 days, but then a lot of like citizens that like visited the market, they were like, what time are you guys here on Sunday? Or like tomorrow, for example. And we're like, no, it's just the 2 days. And like, oh no, I told my mom it was, you know, or I was going to bring my sister tomorrow. And I'm like, sorry, we won't be here. I mean, you can bring your sister to the rec complex and watch some skating, but the vendors won't be here. So I'm glad the organizers, they took that into account. And yeah, I'm excited. They even put up a billboard in their town. I know, well, there used to be 5 girls that run this collective who do this market, but now there's 3 of them that do it. And they put up a billboard this year and put in so much money towards advertising. I've been on the radio and stuff like that, so I'm excited. I sold a lot of sweaters last year, as I said, so I'm hoping I can sell even more this year now that I know what people are after and what they want. Fingers crossed. I'd love to sell out. That'd be amazing. And if I do have a few left, my plan is to take them to the market that I have the weekend after, last weekend of November. Like I'm mainly taking plushies. Like that's what I'm making all these things for that market, because it's a 3-day festival. And I've heard like it's good foot traffic, and it's the 5th annual, so, and it's indoors. And then if I don't sell the sweaters out there, then I would brave the cold for a few days at the farmer's market. You know, just layer, bundle, take your heated blanket, stuff like that. And fingers crossed that, you know, I can sell out of everything by the end of the year. That's the dream. But of course, you know, if I still want to keep making plushies, but, you know, for charity things or for, you know, another community plushie hunt in the spring. Once I find like a new full-time job, don't think I'll be going back to the farmer's market like next year, because that's just too much to do like a full Saturday and then work 9 to 5, like Monday through Friday. That'll just be too much for me. Okay, so here's how it's looking. I'm just about to head into the next row, so I'm going to snip off the raspberry and go back to the dappled. Or, let's see, what do we have in here? We do have this purple still, this ombre purple. Yeah, I don't really like that. I want to keep it like brighter colors, I guess. I have a bright purple. I have this one, it's old formula. That one wouldn't look too bad. Decisions. So I do have this, what do you call it, Pretty Girl. So maybe I'll add this in. See how far it gets. I don't know if it'll be a full row. And if I was doing only 2 yarns, like strands on this shell, like alternating rows, I would just carry the yarn, but since I'm using a whole bunch of different scraps, I'm not carrying the yarn right now. So the 3-day market that I'm taking all those plushies to, I emailed the organizer this morning because on the application it didn't really say like what the space was, like that I'm, you know, like vending in, if it's 10 by 10, 6 by 8, for example. It's in like an event venue. They have like a restaurant there, and it's like a hall you can rent to get married in, basically. But it's themed. It's Bavarian themed. It's the Concordia Club in Waterloo, Ontario, and I'm excited for it. I think it'll be fun. But as I said, I'm hoping that she'll get back to me with like, you know, my allotted space so we can kind of plan ahead. Because I call it the X rack, so X rack that I put my sweaters on, it does take up quite a bit of space when it's folded out. Like, it's quite wide, especially with the sweaters on it as well. So it takes up a lot of width. So when I go to my sweater market this weekend, basically the only thing that I can have is that rack and like a small table to the side. I plan on taking my nice wicker side table and probably draping like a tablecloth over it. I still do want to pick up a floor rug. I'll probably go to the thrift store and get one, just because I want to buy something brand new and then just, you know, toss it at the end of the weekend. That honestly is my plan, because people's winter boots are going to be on it, and do I really want to save it for next year? Not really. So that's my plan, just to do that. And it was kind of wasteful, but it's already at the thrift store. I can just, you know, beat it up and stuff, and I could sell it online or give it back to the thrift store after vacuuming it, but who knows? I guess we'll see. So I still want to do that, and I still have to get a tank top for my mannequin. I don't have one that would fit her. I think she's like a size medium large, so mine would look a little baggy on her, and I don't want her boobs falling out. But I'm glad I found a mannequin this year. That's exciting. I looked for one last year, but I couldn't find any. So this one's a half mannequin. So I have, so like she doesn't have like a head. She has like basically from where her chin would be down to like her torso and like belly button, and like right above like where the pubic bone would be. But she's on a stand, so like the sweaters will drape nicely. So that's what I was really looking for. Or a full body, but I can't find that. Okay, so we didn't get 24 stitches around here, so gotta add another one, but that's okay. This is the first thing my hand touched, was this gray sparkle yarn again that we used on the last shell. And it's so fun when people notice that the yarn sparkles. They're like, is that yarn like sparkle? I'm like, yep. Not all of it does, but this strand in particular. I like making my possums out of the sparkle yarn, because I call them sparkle possums, because they're ready to party. I find it so fun when you give your plushies personalities. I think customers really appreciate that, because, you know, I call them party possums or regular grumpy possums. Or I'll make up like funny little stories about them. And I got the idea from ChatGPT, because when he was helping me create the descriptions for my website of like the plushies, so like everything you see on the website is like generated by Chatty, as I call him, or bestie, best friend. So there's a little story like that. But of course I don't have all those little stories memorized. So when I go to like the markets or whatever, you know, I'll say like This is my fat ass frog. He's fat and lazy. You know, he just wants to sit on his not toadstool, his lily pad all day and, you know, just eat flies. You know, he's a chill frog. And then the little Mom Stitch Eddie free pattern frogs. I call them mini frogs. I usually make them for my $5 bin out of Bernat blanket. But when I make those small Mom Stitch Eddie frogs out of Sweet Snuggles Chanel Home, they turn out a bit bigger, and I call them Lou the Lazy Frog. I think Chatty came up with that one. But at my markets, I'm like, yeah, this is my lazy frog. He just lays there all day. You know, like the fat ass frog, he lounges back all day and he sits up and he eats the frogs. But Lou the lazy frog doesn't get off his belly. He just like eats laying down. And I find people get a kick out of that. I don't have adoption certificates or anything. I thought about adding them for the next market, but I'm not sure. Something else I had thought about doing is creating like not an adoption certificate, but like a certificate of authentication that, you know, whoever buys it from me could have if they want it. And it would say something like, one of Santa's elves loves to crochet and thought you might like this because it's your favorite animal. So like a turtle, for example. And then I can ask AI to come up with a, like an elf name for me. So I want it related to Melissa, but like not too related. So maybe it would be like Melissa Twinkles or, you know, Mel Twinkles or something like that. You know, just that's off the top of my head. I'm sure Chatty will come up with a lot of better ones than I can off my noggin. But I think that'd be really fun. And then, you know, one of Santa's elves crochet this type thing. So I'm sure some of Santa's elves do love to crochet because it's a fun hobby. And now we have to do the front loop only and change our hook before I forget. So that being said, I want it to remain pink, but it would be fun to do a different color or yarn, I guess, whatever. Like keep it pink, but different. I think I'll do this one. This one is from the dollar store. I got it in a Facebook Marketplace haul, but I know it's from the dollar store because I had recently used up some of it. It's the exact same thing. I now have my 10mm hook. And of course I'm going to skip 4 so I can attach the head in that space. The 4 that I skip are at the end of this row. Sorry if that was not clear. I'm not like attaching the yarn 4 stitches down from what I'm doing right now. So here's the 4 skipped for where it would join the head. So here's how it looks. I do like it, it's nice. And it's nice about like this pattern because I do tack the head back a little bit rather than leaving it floppy. So then you kind of like cover up like the color changes here with the head. So of course here's where the head would go. I tack it back a little bit and that's covered up. I try to make them as seamless as possible, but sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. All the scrappy bits in there. I don't usually snip them off just because it's going to be inside anyway. These turtles I don't put any weighted pellets in. I find they're heavy enough on their own. The smaller turtles that I make, like the palm-sized ones, those I put the weighted pellets in. Okay, moving on to the fins. I still have the raspberry, the dappled pink, and this one right in front of me, so I'm just going to start with one of these. Let's go for dappled first. Oh, change the hook size back. I think for this fin here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry the yarn. I'm just going to do alternating because there's only 4 rows. That being said, I've already done 2 rows in this color, so I guess the other 2 rows I can do with the raspberry. My bad. So I guess I'm not really carrying. Although I could do 1 row of the raspberry and then switch back to the dappled. Maybe I'll do that. First pin is finished. Well, it's ready for the body portion. You know what I'm trying to say. This one I'm now going to do every other. So we'll add in the dappled pink. I like these two colors together, they look nice. I'm gonna snip off the raspberry. And just for the last row, we're gonna go back to the dappled pink. Well, rosy. That's the second pin finished. I like these colors together, as I said. That looks really nice. Let's start with a variegated dollar store one for fin number 3. Because it is variegated, I'll do a second row with this one. I'm going to leave it attached. I'm going to go over to the dappled. The dappled rosy and the dollar store one match so well. You can really tell the rosy's in there, but it's the third row, so the second one in, right there. That's pretty cute. So that's 3 fins. We gotta do the 4th. I think I'll keep them the same 3 colors here. I could add in like a purple, but we definitely have enough for the 4th fin with these colors. Oh, finish a fin, drink some water. I'll start this one with the color, well, the raspberry color. Sometimes when I do my magic ring too loose, this happens, like this extra piece. It drives me crazy. Because my brain can't figure out a way around it. But it doesn't always happen, so there is a way around it, but my brain can't figure it out. So let's try that again. That's better. The other one was just too loose. Switching over to the variegated dollar store yarn. Here's fin number 4. And just like the rosy yarn, the raspberry yarn does match just as I'm back from switching over the laundry. You're in a different position once again, so now I can have my phone plugged in. And now the camera's over here. I usually do have it over here for, I don't know, I just prefer it over there. So I had to remember to look over here now. And usually when that happens, I do end up switching it back just because I like it over on that side. I don't know why, that's just where I look. So here's how our scrap bucket is looking. And keep in mind I did take those teal ones out, they're still on the floor. So adding those teal ones back in, it would still look really full, so good times. All right, so there's not really a color themed here. I mean, there's some yellow, there's some purple. The yellow I do like to save to make bees, like I do that every time. So like this nice yellow here, and this one here, layer out of Bernat Blanket Patchwork Citrus Splash. I take out that really nice yellow and I use it for bees. I could use the sparkle yarn during this turtle process, but these will not count. So I'm just gonna plop them over there for now. I don't know why this red is in here. Doesn't need to be, it's not really a scrap, but might take from it if we need to. So I think at this point, what I'm gonna do, maybe I'll do a blind one now where I close my eyes and take one. So let's do that and see how it turns out. Larry does this very annoying thing, and maybe your dogs do it too, is where you offer to do something for the dog, and they refuse to do that thing. Being like, no, I don't want to drink of water. No, I don't need to go outside. But as soon as you sit down and get comfortable, they're like, it's time. And I'm like, no. Because if I do it once, he's going to remember it, and he's going to do it all the time. So, time is it anyway? I think it's around 4. Yeah, it's just about 4 o'clock right now. So I've been at this for about, I'd say 2 hours-ish. I think I sat down around 2. And then, before 5 o'clock, we have to go for play. Because it gets dark around 5 right now, so good times. So, I think I have time to do probably another shell, and then we'll take a break again and do the fun stuff. Fun for him. All right, going in blindly, but I don't want to pick like an older formula. So let's go by feel. This feels pretty nice. Oh, that's a Timu yarn. So I'm not going to use that because that's even thicker than the old formula. It does feel nice, but it's just really thick. What do we got here? Oh, this is Cloud 9. This one should work okay. Like, it's kind of halfway in between old formula and new formula, you know? If you work with burlap blanket yarn, you know what I'm saying. I said before in my other videos, I always use a finger guide just because I cannot wrap the yarn around my hands and have it stick nicely. It just doesn't work for me. So as I said, I'm going to skip the first row. I was modifying it already, but it's still coning a bit. So I think I'm just going to go to the second row of what it calls for. Although when I do like a larger first row, like in the magic ring, I find it really hard to close like nicely. This one isn't too bad right now. But when there's so many stitches, it's difficult. All right, so I'm just going to skip row 1, this will technically row 2, and go right into row 3. And then I'll probably just add an extra row of the single crochet around near the end. There's not a whole lot left on this, so I'm just going to continue with this. I'm curious, do you find this when you're working on plushies with a magic circle? So it was just closed, and then as I'm working with it, it kind of loosens a bit, but I'm able to tighten it again, so it is. And then it usually does stay closed, but I think because my fingers are rubbing on it right now, because it's so small, that's what happens. I'm curious, let me know if that happens to you. Time for a new yarn, because that's all gone. Oh, I was doing it blindly. I still want it to look nice, so I don't want to put like, you know, like a brown with a green. I mean, if it was brown and green turtle, then sure. What do we got? Okay, there's more of the deep teal ombre. I have no idea what I was just saying, but my phone was like, your storage is full. So I just hadn't deleted the recently deleted album, or emptied it, whatever. So that just saved me 80 gigabytes. And my phone is 128 gigs, and I've never actually seen it full before. But because these are longer portion clips here, that's why. Okay, so I'm going to choose to snip off this yarn because I'm starting a new row, and I want this one to look pretty scrappy. Blindly choosing another yarn. So I'm sorry if whatever I was just talking about, it probably got cut off. I'll try to edit that out, I guess. Well, more Cloud 9. Not going to use that. Not right now, anyway. The little sandcastles. That look pretty nice. Choosing to snip off little sandcastles. So we go to the next yarn. This is an off shade I have. I refer to it as jade, I think. I think I do. Our furnace is now kicked on, so that's what you're hearing. I know my phone picks it up. So if it's not the air conditioner or the freezer, it's the furnace. And I wish I could edit out that portion, like the background noise, but I'm not paying for Canva Pro, or not Canva Pro, I do pay for Canva Pro. I'm not paying for CapCut Pro, the video editing software I use. Once I make millions from my YouTube channel, then sure, I'll upgrade. So, like and subscribe, please. It's really pretty. I like the way this one's turning out. I'm sorry the lighting here is so bad. It's just nothing I can do about it, really. So, we now have the maximum amount of stitches for the shell. So this is where I grab my safety pin stitch marker. I just nipped off the jade and we're going to add another color. This is wispy white. Yeah, Bernat Blanket tie-dye-ish. If I can find the end. Over the weekend, we had Steve's workplace Christmas party, and it was a good time. I mean, it's usually pretty boring because it's dry, like there's no alcohol. Basically, it's, you know, you get there for cocktail hour, which is like mocktail hour. We call it, what do we call it? Like juice hour or something like that. So it's that, and then introduction and like a prayer, and then sorry, I moved my tripod with the yarn. And then there's a really nice meal. So it's like a turkey, roast beef, veggie lasagna this year, and there was another meat. I don't remember what because I don't really eat a lot of meat. But it was delicious. I'm glad, like last year they ended up changing venues because they grew so much that we couldn't fit in the old venue. And now that they moved to a new venue, they have a different catering company. Again, that was Larry. They have a different catering company doing the meal, and I'm so thankful for that because the venue beforehand was like their in-house catering, and it was awful every year. Like the food was cold and just hard and just ugh. And I'm surprised they put up with it for so long, but another one organizes it. So yeah, it was a really delicious meal, and then you know they do like a what's been happening in the company, welcome to the new staff members, stuff like that. Oh yeah, and milestone awards, so like in increments of 5. Somebody was there for, I think it was 40 years they celebrated this year, so that was pretty cool to see. And my table mates probably thought I was a little bit dramatic because I ended up crying because the owner, like, you know, his dad started the company and then he took it over and now his daughter took it over, so 3rd generation, and it makes me miss my workplace so much. Like I loved it, like just so much, and I'm sure you could see that in my videos, like when I still had my job. And you know, Steve was like, "Are you okay?" Like, and I was like, I miss Spin Rate so much. And you know, it was a family company at first. It started in 1952, and they made it to 73 years here. I mean, like it's still like a company that's like, you know, valid and operational, but just where I was working was the original head office. So it sucks that everybody lost their jobs and just such a detriment to the town and our community. So it sucks. I miss it a lot. I'm bored and I'm ready to get a new job. Applying. Snipping off yarns. So wispy white is now off. We add the next color. Oh, I grabbed 2 of the pinks. All right, now there's some small strands of pink here. So there's a pale, and then there's, oh, that matches my shirt. Yeah, that's funny. I'm just gonna add in this pale pink. There's not a whole lot, but it might get us like 8 stitches or so. I guess we can count them. Oh, we got 5 stitches out of this yarn. So let's add in this bright pink. This bright pink yarn is so nice. I got it at Walmart. I don't recognize it, so I think it might be a Walmart Mainstays one. It had no label on it. So yeah, after they do the milestone awards and stuff, and the speech and like everything's happening in the company, basically, you know, then they serve the dessert and stuff. And it's funny because every year they ask if anybody has like any allergies or like intolerances, and Steve always puts dairy down for me, but there's never like a dairy-free options. I mean, like they'll list on the menu card that, you know, the mashed potatoes have dairy. Don't eat mashed potatoes, yada yada. But then they say the dessert table will have everything's lactose-free labeled. And there was no lactose-free desserts. There used to be like a fruit bowl at the old venue, but it was never good fruit, so I don't miss it that much. And I'm not really a sweet tooth person, so I usually just skip desserts because of my intolerances. Time for the next yarn. And then we get to take home a gift bag every year, which is so fun because the owner's wife puts so much thought and care into it. And there's always a theme. I can't remember what it was last year, but this year it was maple theme. So we got some maple candies, maple syrup, crepe mix, and like a crepe pan, like cast iron. Like it's fancy, and we're so thankful every year for such a fun treat. And then the stuff that this is one I pulled, but I'm going to put it back because there's too much pink right here. And then it's fun because every year the stuff that we don't use, we just give out for Christmas to like family and friends, and they just throw in people's stockings. So that's really nice and helps us out at Christmas. I pulled out this nice teal. I guess it's the mint off shade that I have. Or no, this is seafoam. See, they all look the same, especially when you're colorblind. But yeah, it was a nice time at the Christmas party, and even though I ended up crying in the bathroom because I missed my old job, you know, just the way the life goes, I guess. I don't think I've ever lost a job before, and just having it ripped away from me, it was really hard. I'm doing a lot better than I was, of course, at the beginning of the year, but at this point I'm getting bored, and I miss having the camaraderie of coworkers, and, you know, there's pros and cons. Definitely coworkers. Something I always said at work was, you know, I loved working for myself when I had a sewing business because somebody made a mistake. I made the mistake. I had nobody else to blame. I can only be upset with myself. But, you know, when you have a corporate job, people try to cover up their mistakes. That's a big pet peeve of mine, especially when it's somebody who is arrogant and a turd. Lots of pros and cons to having coworkers. I do need to add an extra row to the shell here of just single crochets because we skipped the first row. So I would feel better if there was an extra row here. I think I'm just going to stick with this seafoam color. And the row after this is where we do the front loop only. I like the way this one's turning out. I love when things are like fully scrappy. I'm past my stitch marker because it gets like so far in the plushie that I kind of like miss it sometimes. It's not like the clasp that's like sticking out. So I just gotta go back. Okay, so because some portions of this have 2 rows of the mint or seafoam, I am going to snip it off. We're gonna use a different color for the front loop only. Sometimes on the front loop only I do half double crochets. It just depends if I'm in the mood for it or not. Okay, so there are a good variety of colors in here. A lot of it is, I would say like teals. Like when I look at it, the first thing I see is like teal. So the front loop only I want, honestly it's hard to say because there's just so many like ranges of colors in here. Maybe a dark purple would be nice, the one that's in the center there. Let's do that. I could do the stuff on the outside. I like the one in the middle more. Okay, so in the middle was actually this color here. How does that look? I feel like I like the darker more. Well, I guess it's like a medium dark. So I'm just gonna cut that off. We can use it another time. So this is the purple I want to use in the middle. Or sorry, from the middle on the outer of the shell. I just realized I forgot to change hook size. And as you see, like it is much, like it's the same obviously as the shell, but I'm going to frog it because I like it to be a bit larger. This looks so nice on the finished turtle. Here's the shell all finished. And as you can see, it didn't do the stupid like dome thing at the top. How many times has that been in this video that Larry has sighed because I started talking? Such a moody little poo sometimes. So here it is. I do like it. It looks nice. And as you can see, as I was saying, it didn't do the cone thing at the top because I eliminated the first row. And before I was already modifying it. Instead of doing a certain number, I was upping that and then changing the second row. But I think for the fourth one as well, I'll do this exact same thing and skip. I feel like that took a good portion out of the scrap bin here. But as I mentioned, we have to go outside before 5 p.m. and do our next portion of our daily routine. Even though he is snoozy right now, that's what we're gonna do. And later in the evening, we usually around town, just to, get our legs moving and settle in for the night type thing. In the winter, I don't do it as much, I will admit that, because it's so windy and cold where we are. And no matter how many different brands of gloves that I try, the wind still gets through the gloves and freezes my hands. And that's not comfortable. Back inside, and the oven is warming up if you hear it. My iPhone picks up every little noise in the house. So we're gonna start working on the fins for this very scrappy turtle. Now, this is the purple we've just pulled out of that other one to get to the medium purple in the center of that. So let's use this lighter purple. See, you can see where it changed. I'm going to join a new yarn, but I'm going to keep this one to carry it because there's not a whole lot, but it'd be nice to make it like more scrappy. Okay, so I'll pull the raspberry color. I'm going to snip off the raspberry now. So I picked up the purple again. And we have one more row of single crochet around. That is pin number 1, almost finished. So funny when you fold it like that, it looks like a taco. I'd probably say that because I'm hungry. Okay, so we have this variegated yarn. I found this at a thrift store in the summer. No idea what shade it is. It must be a Bernat blanket that was discontinued years ago and I just never heard of it. I like the way it works off in a fidget worm, like a tube shape, because it kind of looks like it, like if you do it in the round for like a leg or, just like a tube shape. I think the fidget worms I was doing were 8 stitches around. It kind of looks like it's, what's the word I'm looking for? My God. Kind of looks like a tartan pattern, I guess you could say, because just the way it works up, it looks really cool. And it looks cool in like, larger rounds of things too, but in a tube shape, it looks awesome. I think because this one is so variegated, like there's 3, almost 4 different colors in here, I'm just gonna do the whole fin in this one. Something I haven't done yet. I do love these colors together. They are quite nice. So it's like a mustard, and then there's like a little bit of like a really light colored yellow. And then there's like a deep teal-ish, and then a charcoal. That took no time at all because I didn't do any color changes. So I do like the look of that one. So that was the second, I think, second fin of this turtle. Yes. It's hard when you do so many in a row and then you forget. Okay, next fin. My oven should be heated up soon. Oh, okay, here's that teal again from the ombre skein. I've chosen to snip that off, but I am going to save this. It's only like a yard long or like a meter long. That's usually what I end up saving. Anything like that size, but anything under that, nah. My pizza is now in the oven. In the meantime, I added one more row without you guys seeing because I didn't want the oven timer to beep while I was filming. Okay. Here's that seafoam color again. Should be gone soon. Let's see. Yeah, it should be gone soon. That is fin number 3 done for now. One more fin for this one. I don't think this will be enough for the first, although it might. It might be enough for the first row. Let's give it a try. I know I could color change on the first row. I just don't like doing that in the magic ring. Magic ring is annoying enough as it is. Oh, just enough. Look at that. It doesn't happen often. Next color. Oh, it's teal. And by teal, I mean, what was I calling it? Jade. I grabbed 2. I got a pink and a purple here. I'm gonna go for the pink because the colors we have are kind of dark. I'm on the last row now, but I think I'm gonna keep the pink on there. It looks really nice. I like those colors together. That looks really nice. I think like that dark jade and a pink sweater would have been really cool together. So that's 4 fins plus the shell finished of turtle number 3. There are some yarns in here I'm not going to end up using in any Scrappy project or whatever. I just keep avoiding them. So I'm just going to donate these. They're old formula and I just don't like the way they turned out on plushies. And of course, this is not enough for a full sweater, obviously. So these 3 are older formula. I'm going to save the purple. I think I'll work it into the next shell because it's such a beautiful, beautiful color. I believe I had pulled this one off of an old Ogo. So I want to make sure I use that in the next shell here. But these ones I'm going to donate. Just put in the donation bin that I put into a bag eventually and then drop it off at the charity that I support. I'm going to switch it up a bit. I'm going to do some fins next rather than doing another shell because the oven's going to go off soon for my supper. So I have time to do probably one more fin before that happens. Yeah, this one again. I know it's going on a different turtle, but I'm going to pick a different color because I can and because I want to. Okay, so this is the, what do I call it, tie-dye-ish that probably didn't go to production, so I wish it did because it's so pretty. I did that one in the same strand, so I just never color changed from this one. You can turn it really nice, and I like that it's variegated, so still works for a scrappy project. Okay, next pin. Grab something small. Oh, there's that dark purple. I do want to use up some colors that we haven't touched yet, so I'm going to put that one back. Cloud 9 we have used, but you know what, I'm going to use it anyway. It'd be fun to do this turtle as, so like really light colored fins and then like a darker shell. That'd be kind of cool. Or I could go grab some black from my office and do like variating rows. That'd be kind of fun. I've had my supper and I'm full now, so keep crocheting. So I finished up this one here, the Cloud 9 and then the Raspberry off shade. Then the third one I'm just, no, this is the third? Yeah, this is the third one. Just finishing up. It does kind of look like a nipple, but you know what? Too bad. Once it's folded in half and I add another color to it, it'll be okay. But if it was just like this, I definitely wouldn't keep it. But because it'll be folded in half, it's fine. I do want to continue with using yarns we haven't used yet out of the scrap bin. One of them being this plum off shade color that I have. I was going to snip this off, but I've decided not to. I'm just going to do the third row in a different color. And then I'll go back to this for the fourth row. I'm going to use the Bernat Blanket Sparkle in gray. It's definitely a different texture, like it's old formula, so it does look a little funny, but I think on a fin it's not so bad. Because this nice plum color is like one of the newer formulas. Okay, the fourth fin is done. Well, done for now anyway. So because we did the fins first, obviously we still have to do the shell. Let me show you what's left of the scrap bin. Okay, so here's what we have left, plus, you know, the however many skeins, pieces, scraps, whatever, of the teal that's on the floor. Plus the stuff that I'm donating, as I said earlier. I really like the sound of the idea of what I came up with earlier, that I would do every other row here, and every other color, technically, a darker color. I don't know if I'll do black, but I can go in my office and see like what I have that's been sitting there for a while. It could be an older formula one, just because it's not so bad with, you know, in the round, and it's not like a full project, it's just every other row. So I want it to be a dark color though, I think. Keyword, I think. Okay, in my office I have this nice blue color. I got this from a Facebook Marketplace haul from Alexandria, and it's a Mainstays Walmart yarn. You can tell the difference between them and Bernat Blanket, like they're two totally different formulas, but it's a Scrappy project, so it's okay. I don't mix them very often, but for a Scrappy project, it doesn't really matter. So of course I'm not going to snip off the blue, but I'm going to attach a new yarn for the next row. Of course I want to use up the smaller pieces while we're on the smaller rows. So that's what I was looking for. Don't have a whole lot of small pieces left, so that's good. For the next row, I'm going to add in the plum color. I lost yarn chicken on this row by like just a few stitches, but I do have more of this yarn. Back in my office, obviously. So let's pick the body colors for these turtles. I do love this color here for turtle bodies. They sell really well for me. But that being said, is that right? Yeah, it is. But that being said, because this is the last row, I don't want to do this color specifically with this one. I do want to use this color for at least, one or two. Probably the blue one. I think that would look really nice. So this is the last one I just finished. I try to keep them like stacked together so I don't like forget in 5 seconds what I had just said. So right now I think I'm going to pull the greens that we had discussed earlier. Here's one of the older formula ones I said I didn't like because it's older formula. It would be good to use it up. Let's see if it matches any of them. That's the first one we did. Nah, it's okay, but it's not amazing. That was not bad. And then there's the pink one. No. So if we do use it with anything, it'll be with this one here. And the one for the pink, I'm tempted to use that same light color because it's just such a nice color, and it does look good with dark contrast and with light contrast. I also have the bright sage, which is almost the same. That one looks really nice, actually. Yeah, let's go bright sage for that one. And the last one we have to figure out is the first shell we did. More blues. I am tempted to do like a blue body turtle because I think it would match nicely. But is anybody going to buy a blue turtle? I had such a hard time selling. I think it was like a lavender purple one I did. It was this color right here. I had such a hard time selling that one, so I don't really want to do any different colors. We also have another skein of seafoam. I think that matches too well. We still have spring grass. Oh, that's not terrible together. Okay, so maybe we'll do that. So when I said I stacked them together, it's like this and like this on the table, so I don't, lose my train of thought, basically. Now that the, the hockey game is on for the evening, I am just going to time-lapse myself making the heads rather than talking through it, so enjoy that. Hello from my living room. I'm in here because my next door neighbor is mowing his lawn, and probably still be able to hear it in this room, but not as loud because my office is right next to his yard. Sounds like he stopped, so good timing. So let me show you the turtles and how they turned out. I did finish the final 2 off camera. Here's one. I love this one. It's so cute. And I did 35mm eyes on all of them because I love these eyes and I love making plushies with oversized eyes. I think it just is adorable. I liked using scraps for this. My husband came home and he was like, those are really cool. And I was like, thank you. There's a lot more again. Okay, so here's number 2. I love this color with the blue shell. I think it looks really nice. And the fins being as scrappy as they are, they look really neat. And, of course I did the last row on all the fins as the body color. And I think that tied it all together really well. So I highly encourage you to do these as well. I'm gonna save my favorite one for last. Here is the pink one that we did. Oh, I love it. It's so cute. I think my prediction is going to be that this one's going to sell first. The pink one. That's my prediction. I don't know why. I just have that feeling. Adorable. And pink sparkle eyes, of course. And my favorite one turned out to be like the blue teal one. I think the first shell I did because of the body color is Misty Jungle Green and Bernat Baby Blanket Dappled, I think. And I just love the way it turned out for the turtle color. Isn't that adorable? I'll show you the underside of the body. So I just think that's such a nice color for a turtle, and like how it's like dappled as the yarn says. So it's not like a full solid color, but it's pretty close. And I really like it. So this is my favorite one. If I kept any of them for me, it'd probably be this one, but I'm not going to keep any for me. I already kept one of those pom turtles recently. Here we have it. I think it's adorable. Larry is upset that I'm talking to the camera right now, so that was him sighing. Because the color was distorted from the editing I was trying to do in DaVinci Resolve, I just want to show you Misty Jungle Green without the color being distorted here. I think it's such a nice color. I now have this video too where I want it, like the progress and everything. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you. I hope you enjoyed the movie. If you made it this far, thank you. If you didn't, it's all good. You'll never see this anyway. But I hope you enjoyed the movie. Hopefully it gave you something to crochet along to if you just needed something to put on while you were crafting. In the meantime, as always, please remember that you are strong, you are beautiful, you are loved, and the world appreciates having you here. I will see you next Sunday.